Hi, I'm Jason Stuart. I'm an actor, a comedian, and I'm a activist. Well, I came out to my family in my early 20s, and I came out to friends and work people, early 20s, late 20s, and I came out on television in my early 30s on a national syndicated program called The Geraldo Show. It was frightening. It was scary. Ellen hadn't come out. Neil Patrick Harris hadn't come out. Rosie O'Donnell hadn't come out. It was like way before. So it was unknown territory, and you didn't know what was going to really happen. And my dream was to be this great character actor. And I did this show called Unconventional Comedians, and what they realized is that most comedians are all unconventional. Oh God, yeah. Starting on the show, Geraldo, people, if you go to my website and you watch the video, you'll see there's a woman asking me questions that she can't seem to comprehend in 1993, 25 years ago, the idea of men showing any sort of affection in public, like just a kiss hello. It was just like way too much for her. So the times have changed really in a big way. And also there was no place for me to get work as an actor in those days unless I played a gay character or a sexually ambiguous character until years later. Well, for me, the first thing was to live an honest life. It was way, way too hard. And then I found out years later that a lot of gay people in my age range have post-traumatic stress from hiding and separating their lives and putting everything into a different compartment. So when I realized that I had done that so much, when I stopped doing it, there was this sense of freedom, this sense of not feeling like I was going to be caught. And I realized that being who I was much more important than being in show business, even though that was my dream to be an incredible character actor. Well, 13 years ago, I was asked through a letter that I had faxed. We had faxes then, so if anybody's listening to this in the year 2096 or whatever, we had a fax machine then where a piece of paper, if you even know what paper is, whoever's watching this, would go through a telephone wire. And I sent these faxes to all these top shows, daytime talk shows at the time. And Phil Donahue was the biggest. Geraldo Rivera show was the second biggest, and Oprah Winfrey was the third, and Geraldo was the one that said, yes, we'd like to do this story. And when we did the story coming out, it sort of changed everything. So when I've been starting to infiltrate myself into the LGBTQ world of filmmaking and television, I realized that there was no place for out actors to be. And there was a lot of commiserating and a lot of talking about jobs and how we were treated and what we could get, what we couldn't get, and how we could compete. And I sent these letters to Melissa Gilbert at the Screen Actors Guild and didn't get any response for a very long time. And then Alan Rosenberg became the president. And one day I got this call from Duncan Crabtree Ireland. He was sitting in an office with Sumi Haru and Anne-Marie Johnson. And all those people said, hey, yes, we want to create a Screen Actors Guild LGBT committee. And that's when they asked me to. I thought they were calling about a residual check. And when he called, because he was the head legal counsel, I thought, look, I called about this check. And he said, Jason, we're not calling about your check. We're calling about creating this committee about the letter that you sent. Because I just kept sending it to people. And I just kept sending it and sending it and sending it. My dad always taught me to show up and just keep showing up. So I kept sending it over and over again. And finally someone responded. And it started a 13-year relationship as a volunteer at the Screen Actors Guild, now AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild AFTRA, for the LGBTQ committee for actors. Now it's not just actors, it's comedians, it's singers, it's dancers, it's extras, it's journalists, it's stunt people, hosts. Devastating, I have to say. And it really changes the way you move yourself in life. I had a friend named Barry Robin who had been an actor and had been in the movie Bless the Beast and the Children, and he'd been in The King and I think on Broadway and on the tour, and he had played Paul Muni in a Broadway type show, and I was in love with him, and I was nuts about him. And he was older than I was, I think around, maybe 15 years older than I was. And I was nuts about him. And he was smart, and he introduced me to opera and music and theater and things that in a different way, in a much more in-depth way. And he never let the relationship go anywhere. And we just were friends. And then one day he let me know that he had AIDS and he passed. And it really changed the way I looked at things for the rest of my life. To be around death at such a young age is an odd thing for someone in their 20s to have to deal with that many people. Entertainment Weekly magazine used to have a section every year where they would name all the people who passed. And I knew at least a fourth of them most of the time. So it was way too many people at such a young age to have to go through. And it also changes the way you get into relationships with people. You know, everybody asks, are you HIV positive? Are you negative? Are you undetectable? Are you on PrEP? Now with medication, people, thank God, are able to live with this disease. Not that it isn't still difficult for the people that have it, but you know, I feel like I got through. I feel really lucky that I'm here at this age in my life. I'm a big proponent on rising up, or rather raising up people. 2 years ago, I was in a film called The Birth of a Nation, and Nate Parker, who was the director, actor, and star of the film, who let me play a white heterosexual Christian plantation owner in 1831, a gay Jewish liberal guy, right? And the whole experience was about lifting people up. And it changed who I was as an artist and as a human being, because it's the idea of giving everybody a place. And for example, when the film premiered at Sundance Film Festival, at the end of the screening, the applause went on for, I think, 10 minutes. And the stars of the film, the writer, director, producers, and all go on. It's usually just the big stars. He invited every single person up who had been involved with that film on stage. There had never been so many people on stage. It was the most incredible feeling that we were all a part of this. And that's how I feel, is that there's always room for more. Jack Lemmon used to have a quote, a very famous Academy Award-winning movie actor and Broadway actor. He would say, when you go up in the elevator, take people with you. And I believe very much in that. Well, like you said, first thing, not forgetting the past. I did a show the other day, and Robin Tyler, who is a comedian, she was the first openly gay person to be on television as a comedian in the 70s. And she was at the show, and the three other comedians that I was doing the show with did not know who she was. So I schooled them, and I made sure that they knew who this woman was and what she did for a lot of us. And that if it wasn't for her, that we wouldn't be there, that we stand on the shoulders of other people. And that's something I try to do all the time. My father was in the Holocaust, and he came to this country in 1949, not having a nickel in his pocket, as they say, not speaking English. And he always taught me that he used to say, when you go on the interview, wear a tie. And what he meant is to be your best person. And I took that to strive to be my best person in life. So I really believe that it's very, very important to be the best at who you can be and leave no stone unturned, and to keep showing up in life as long as it makes you feel good. Do what makes you feel good.
Perfect. Thank you.